Hello and welcome to episode 6 of Living with a Mazda MX-5. As you can see, I'm in the boot because I'm going to talk about practicality. Right, can I get out now? I'm getting pins and needles. Now, as we're at the back of the car, let's talk about the boot in further detail. And guys, I know people don't buy a Mazda MX-5 for its practicality. I completely understand it, but I thought it would be a topic worth covering. So, got the boot. I think roughly it's about 130 to 140 litres, which doesn't sound big, and it's also difficult to kind of get a real perspective of what those numbers are. So I have some props, so bear with me. So let's say you want to go on a holiday. I could do with a holiday. Let's grab a suitcase. Right, Marbella, here I come. Right, okie dokie, yeah. Gonna head to the airport. Gone hot. Oh. I don't think it's legal. Okay. This is obviously too big. Let's try something a little bit smaller, shall we? Right. Something a bit more MX-5 friendly. Ah! We are in business. So just to give you an idea of how big the suitcase is, it's quite big. Should be enough for a weekend away, for sure. That slots in rather nicely, he says, like so. Will it close? There we are. Off to the Peak District I go. Right. There we are, and there's still a bit of room left as well, so if you had one or two carry bags, don't mind me, just my wire showing. So if you had some carry bags or some soft bags, for example, like one of those drawstring gym bags sort of things, so you've got space for one of those here, got space for another one here, maybe two even. So, okay, the boot is far from gargantuan, but as you can see, it does take a suitcase and there's still a bit of room left over, so for a weekend away, should be absolutely fine. Right, so let's talk you through the inside of a car. Now, as you can see, it's quite a small cabin, but it's not the smallest, so it's not quite as small as, let's say, a Caterham. Now, one of the things that you'll notice when the roof is up is that it is quite dark and dingy in here. Now, as many of you may know, the roof is not electronic, which is by no means a bad thing, because it means you can get it down in almost an instant. So unlike the new MX-5, which has only got one clip, which is in the middle, I've got two clips, one either side. So it's really dead easy. So that one there, and hey presto. And let's say, for example, it just happens to rain, like it does in the UK. Again, it's nice and quick to get the roof back up. So grab the handle, there we are, clip, clip. That was done in a few seconds, whereas quite a few electronic jobs, you're looking at about 10, 15 seconds, give or take. So yeah, that's quite a long time when you have a sudden downpour, because a sudden downpour is, well, it's sudden, isn't it? So yep, that's really nice and easy. Now the interior, with it being an older car, isn't the most luxurious. It's also before smartphones were invented, so there's nowhere really to put my smartphone. I've got this little gap here, which I can use. Now obviously you can use a cradle, which you can attach to the windscreen, of course. But I'm not, you know, I don't really like to use those, purely because I used to, when I was driving, I would use to transfer track on my phone, the music track, as I was driving. But under the new laws, I can't do that. If I ever, you know, if I just so much touch my phone and Mr. Plod sees me, I'm likely to get 6 points. So nowadays, I don't bother with a phone cradle because I don't really have the need for one. So what I do, put my mobile phone in there. If it's sort of okay, I would show you, but I'm using the smartphone to record the audio. But actually, hang on, darling. Yeah. Can I borrow your phone, please? Don't have it. You don't have it? No. Well, that's not very good, is it? But either way, a smartphone will sort of fit in there. But if it's something like a Galaxy Note, which is wider, then it won't. But you know, that's little things. You got the center console bit here, which my one is a little bit, it's a bit loose. I don't know if you can see that, but yeah, it does need to be repaired. Got a bit of storage in here. You do have cup holders in here, but I can't imagine how useful that would be, because you'd have to drive with this open. I just think that's a little bit silly. Now, I know that quite a few people that own a Mark II, what they do is they rip this out and they put the centre console unit from the Mark 2.5 because it's a little bit more ergonomic and it's a little bit more sort of, you know, driver friendly. But this one's all right. You've got the boot release in here, and you've also got the petrol filler cap. So sometimes when it's just locked and you're driving, that can be a bit of a pain in the arse because you go to open it, oh, it's locked, and you have to stop, take the key out and unlock it. Obviously, the easy solution for that is to make sure that's unlocked before you start the car. Again, little things, you know, it's not the end of the world. So yep, that's there. That's lockable, so it's nice if you have any valuables in there, you can lock them away. The glove box is also lockable as well. You've got a decent amount of storage in there, so that's all good. But yeah, as you know, with the MX-5, you can only fit one passenger rather than, you know, you can fit 4 in a hatchback. But like I said earlier, no one really buys an MX-5 for a practical reason. But the reason why I wanted to shoot this video is to kind of tell you what it's like to live with, because obviously that's the name of the series, living with a Mazda MX-5. Speaking of which, one thing that does kind of annoy me is, so when the sun visors are up, put the roof down, you have to push them down, unclip the unclip the roof, and then you have to put them back up. Again, it's really little petty things, but that sort of does annoy me. I just think, well, couldn't Mazda design it so this bit was kind of cut off so you wouldn't have to move it every time you want to put the roof up or down? So that sort of thing does bug me, but only a little bit, Speaking of practicality, the steering wheel has got no adjustment, so I can't move it up or down, I can't move it closer to me or farther away. It's just literally there. So I can adjust the seat. The seat's got a good level of adjustment, so I can put it back more if I want to, but then I feel like I'm a little bit too far away from the wheel, so I sort of have it there. So as you can probably see, the steering wheel, well, hopefully you can see, the steering wheel is almost resting on my thighs. But that really isn't a deal breaker, in all honesty. It's something you get used to quite quickly. It's not the most ideal driving position, I won't lie, but like I say, you get used to it rather quickly. So yeah, I think that's probably the insides of the car covered, really. I can't think of anything else. By all means, if you have any questions about anything I haven't covered, please leave them in the comment section below and I will answer them as quickly as I can. Just trying to think of other touches. You can tell this is an older car because you've got an ashtray in here, which in a lot of modern cars you don't have nowadays. Cigarette lighter. So yeah, I think it's about time we went for a little drive, don't you think? So the reason why I wanted to go for a quick drive is A, why wouldn't you? And B, I wanted to talk about the practicality of driving the car itself, and also from Patsy's point of view, what it's like being a passenger. So when the roof is down, the visibility is very good, as you can imagine. Literally all you need to do, check your wing mirrors, there's no blind spots whatsoever because you have 360 degrees of vision. But when the roof is up, the visibility understandably isn't quite as good. So I find that sometimes when I'm on the motorway with the roof up, sometimes going for an overtake can be a tad tricky because the visibility over your shoulder isn't quite there. But those are little things. In regards to visibility, as well on the topic of that, I find that the rear view mirror won't stay in place. So whenever I go over rough roads, it tends to slowly move down, so slowly to the point you don't really notice it. It gets to a point where you've adjusted it, then a day later you think, how's it dropped? But actually, as I look through it now, all I can really see is a bit of a road and the rear spoiler, which is by no means a bad thing, because I love looking at that spoiler, but it is better to look at the road. So let's just adjust it up a little bit. There we go, I can see that red Vauxhall Corsa behind me now. This model has the sports suspension, but it's still comfortable. You know, it still soaks up the bumps relatively well. What do you think, darling?
It is. It's very comfortable as a passenger as well.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Because my Seat Ibiza isn't comfortable, in all honesty. You hit a pothole in that and it just feels like your back has been attacked by a jackhammer. But yeah, this is surprisingly supple. Just not too bad. Okay, it's no Rolls Royce, but it's not too bad either. Now, this car is of course rear wheel drive, and on a dry day like this, it's absolutely fine. And if truth be told, on the wet days I've driven it on, again, it's been absolutely fine. And I even drove this in light snow earlier this year, and okay, I had to be careful with what I was doing with a throttle, but it was doable. And you was in the car with me, weren't you?
I was.
Yeah,
I was just about to say I was in the car.
So it wasn't the end of the world. Obviously, if you live in an area that's just always icy or always wet, or you know, hasn't got that level of grip that you need for a car like this.
Iceland.
Okay. Not really. I was thinking more of something like rural Scotland, but Iceland, yeah, that works as well. So that kind of area, you're going to struggle. It's actually a really nice day today. I thought it was going to be a bit crap today.
It's only 14 degrees though. But it feels
No, it
warmer.
isn't. It must be more than 14.
I
So,
will consult BBC weather.
so yeah. So as a car to drive from a practical point of view, it's easy to drive. Well, I think it is anyway. It's a low car, but
I lied.
it's 15 degrees. Still, it feels warmer. So you made me lose my train of thought now. What was I saying? Oh yes, ground clearance. So it's a low car, but you've still got enough ground clearance to get over speed humps. I won't lie, there have been times where I've had a passenger in my car and I have bottomed out on 1 or 2 speed humps. But I will say that was when oh, look at that Focus.
Oh, wow.
But I will say that at the time the tyres were a little bit deflated. So when the tyres are pumped up to the maximum, I don't think you'd have that problem. Let's move things on. You know, I've been waffling for a fair bit already, so.
Oh, waffles. Oh.
See, I can get quite easily distracted, but I think Patsy's worse. So, come on, tell us what it's like for you as a passenger.
The first thing I noticed when I first got in this car is how low it is.
Yeah.
So, it's going to sound really silly, but I hope it makes sense. I'm quite tall. I'm what, 5'9", 5'10"-ish?
Yeah.
And I'm not the smallest person going. So for me to get in the car the first time, it actually felt like I was going to sit down on the floor, like at primary school in assembly. When you sit down and you cross your legs.
We're going to do a bit of a kumbaya.
Kumbaya. But anyway. So that was the first thing I noticed. So getting in the car was the first thing as a passenger I had to kind of get used to. Surprisingly enough, another thing that surprised me as a passenger is how much legroom I actually have. Like, I know they can't see, but I've got my legs straight and I'm still very comfortable. It depends obviously on the MX-5 you're in, but as you said, this has got sport suspension, hasn't it?
Yeah.
And as a passenger, that really helps. That I'm never uncomfortable in this car. I could sit in this car for such a long journey and be comfortable.
Yeah, but normally sports suspension would make it more uncomfortable, wouldn't it?
It does, but I don't find this car gets uncomfortable. Obviously, if you were going to go over a pothole, then yes, but that's the same with any car.
Yeah, well, most cars anyway. And
I have space.
yeah.
I'm not like knocking into your elbows, or I'm not kind of cramped in a space and I look like I'm being put in a sardine tin as the last sardine.
Yeah.
But as a passenger, it's so much fun. Because for me, obviously you're driving, so you're making, I don't know what you're going to ask the car to do next. There's been times where we've just been going normally and in the back has just decided to give a little bum wiggle, like that cat video on YouTube and Facebook where the cat's wiggling. That's what this car does sometimes, and it can take you by surprise. And I like that because I don't know what's coming next. It's so cheeky. It's like having a toddler. 1 minute they're, you know, happy and they're boisterous and they're being a bit mischievous, and the next minute they're good as gold. So
we've been talking a fair while in the car, so let's kind of wrap things up and talk about what it's like to drive as a daily. And to answer that quickly, easy. The MX-5 is obviously not the most practical car. We all know that. But that's not to say that you can't live with one, because I'm living proof, and many other owners are living proof that you can. I've been using this daily for many months now, and I've had no real problems. But like I say, if there's anything in the video that I've not covered, or if you have any questions about, well, anything in general, well, anything about the car, of course, please drop a comment in the section below. But other than that, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a massive thumbs up, and please subscribe for more
car obsession.
good stuff.